Golden Valley, Arizona. Even the name sounds like a promise of something better, something kinder. But out here, where the sun bleeds across the endless desert and the wind whispers secrets only the Joshua trees understand, kindness can be a lonely road. And for Jenna Sidle, that road led straight to the heart of a pack. We're talking about a woman who dedicated her life to the forgotten, the unwanted souls that society often leaves behind. Dogs, not just any dogs, mind you, but the ones with bite marks on their muzzles, the fear etched into their eyes, the ones other rescues turned away. Jenna saw something different in them, a spark, a chance, a reason to believe that even the most broken spirit could be healed with a little patience and a whole lot of love. Her property, a sprawling piece of land just outside of town, wasn't much to look at. A humble single-story ranch house, a patchwork of mismatched fencing and the ever-present dust devils dancing across the landscape. But for these dogs, it was paradise, a place where they could roam free, bark at the setting sun, and finally, maybe, just maybe, learn to trust again. Jenna was a fixture in Golden Valley. You'd see her driving her beat-up pickup truck, windows down, a symphony of barking emanating from the bed, or walking along the dusty roads, a veritable rainbow of canine companions trailing behind her. Big dogs, small dogs, fluffy dogs, scruffy dogs, every breed, every size, every story etched onto their faces. People knew her. They knew her reputation. Some admired her dedication. Others whispered behind their hands, questioning her sanity, her methods, the sheer number of animals she kept. But Jenna didn't pay them much mind. Her focus was on her dogs, feeding them, tending to their wounds, comforting them through their nightmares. She knew their histories, their quirks, their triggers. She was their mother, their protector, their whole world. And in return, they offered her something she desperately craved, unconditional love. Or so she believed. Life in Jenna's desert sanctuary wasn't always picture perfect. Rescuing traumatized animals is rarely a smooth operation. There were fights, of course, squabbles over food, territory, or simply a misplaced look. There were escapes, dogs squeezing through holes in the fence, darting across the highway, sending Jenna on frantic searches under the blazing Arizona sun. And there were close calls, a nip here, a growl there, a reminder that these were, after all, animals with instincts, with teeth, with a past that refused to stay buried. But Jenna always brushed it off. They're just playing, she'd say with a weary smile. They're still learning how to be dogs again. She saw these incidents as growing pains, as temporary setbacks on the road to recovery. She refused to believe that any of her dogs were truly dangerous, that their past traumas were insurmountable. She had faith in their capacity for love, in their ability to heal, in her own unwavering dedication to their well-being. And for a while, it seemed to work. The dogs thrived. They gained weight, their coats shone, their eyes lost that haunted look. They learned to play with each other, to coexist in relative harmony, to look to Jenna for guidance and reassurance. The sanctuary was a haven, a testament to the power of compassion, a living, breathing example of what could be achieved with a little hope and a lot of hard work. But beneath the surface of this idyllic scene, cracks were beginning to appear. Small at first, almost imperceptible, but widening with each passing day. The number of dogs kept growing. From a handful of rescues, Jenna's pack had swelled to nearly 20. The resources, both financial and emotional, were stretched thin. The property, already in a state of disrepair, started to deteriorate further. The fences sagged, the shelters crumbled, the yard became overgrown with weeds and debris, and the dogs, they were changing too. The playful squabbles became more intense, more frequent. The escapes became bolder, more desperate. The nips and growls became snarls and snaps. The pack dynamics were shifting, and Jenna, in her unwavering devotion, seemed oblivious to the danger that was brewing right under her nose. She saw the good in them, the potential for redemption, the unwavering loyalty that she so desperately craved, but she failed to see the reality of their situation. She failed to recognize the warning signs, the subtle shifts in behavior, the growing tension within the pack. She was so focused on saving them that she didn't realize they were slowly consuming her. Golden Valley may have sounded like a promise, but for Jenna Sidle, it was a gilded cage. A place where her compassion became her undoing, where her love blinded her to the truth, and where her sanctuary ultimately became her tomb. The dogs, she believed, were her family. But families, as she was about to discover, can sometimes be the most dangerous predators of all. The scene was set, the players were in place, and the stage was ready for a tragedy that would shock a community and leave investigators grappling with a question that still haunts them to this day. How could a woman who dedicated her life to saving dogs end up being devoured by them? Red flags. In retrospect, they're always so glaring, aren't they? Like neon signs flashing in the darkness, impossible to miss. But in the moment, caught up in the day-to-day, the good intentions, the unwavering belief, they can be is overlooked. For Jenna Sidle, the signs weren't whispers. They were shouts, echoing across the Arizona desert, yet somehow, they were lost in the wind. The earliest indication that Jenna's rescue was spiraling out of control came not from the dogs themselves, but from the growing unease of her neighbors. In a close-knit community like Golden Valley, everyone knows everyone, and everyone knows everyone's business. The transformation of Jenna's property from a quiet, unassuming home to a veritable canine compound didn't go unnoticed. At first, it was just a few extra dogs, then a few more, until eventually the constant barking became the new normal. A relentless chorus that started before dawn and often continued well into the night. But it wasn't just the noise, it was the increasing aggression of the dogs. While Jenna maintained a public facade of peace and harmony behind the flimsy wire fences, a different reality was unfolding. Residents reported seeing the dogs lunging at cars driving by, their barks turning into menacing snarls. Mail carriers, once a familiar sight on North Lameta Street, started refusing to deliver to Jenna's address, citing safety concerns. Some neighbors even altered their walking routes, avoiding the stretch of road in front of her property altogether. One neighbor, a retired teacher who lived directly across the street, recalls a particularly unsettling incident. "I was in my garden, tending to my roses, when I heard this commotion. I looked up, and there they were, 3 or 4 of Jenna's dogs, tearing at the fence, barking like mad. One of them, a big German Shepherd mix, actually managed to get his head through a gap in the wire. He was snapping his jaws, his eyes fixed on me. I froze. I was terrified. I slowly backed away, went inside, and locked the door. I didn't go back outside for days. These incidents weren't isolated. They were becoming increasingly frequent, painting a disturbing picture of a pack growing more and more volatile. The Mojave County Sheriff's Office received multiple calls about loose dogs, aggressive behavior, and concerns for public safety. Deputies were dispatched to Jenna's property on several occasions, but each time they were met with the same unwavering response. They're just protective. They don't mean any harm. I have everything under control. Jenna was fiercely defensive of her dogs, refusing to acknowledge the growing danger. She dismissed the reports as exaggerations, chalking them up to the dogs being excited or playing rough. She insisted that they were making progress, that they were learning to trust her, and that, with enough time and patience, they would eventually overcome their past traumas. But time was running out, and patience was wearing thin. Perhaps the most alarming red flag was Jenna's own physical condition. As the pack grew larger and more unruly, she began to sustain injuries. Scratches, bruises, bite marks, they became a regular occurrence. When questioned about them, she always downplayed their severity, attributing them to playful nips or accidental scratches during feeding time. "Oh, it's nothing," she'd say, waving her hand dismissively. "They just get a little rambunctious sometimes." But the injuries were more than just minor scrapes. They were evidence of a dangerous power dynamic shift, a sign that Jenna was losing her grip on the pack. The dogs, sensing her vulnerability, were becoming bolder, more assertive, and less obedient. The lines between affection and aggression were blurring, and Jenna, blinded by her unwavering love, seemed unable to see it. Those closest to Jenna noticed the change in her demeanor. She became more withdrawn, more isolated, spending nearly all her time tending to the dogs. She stopped attending community events, declined invitations from friends, and rarely answered her phone. Her once immaculate home fell into disrepair, the yard overgrown with weeds, the fences patched together with makeshift repairs. One former friend, who had known Jenna for over 20 years, tried to intervene. "I went to visit her one day, and I was shocked by what I saw. The house was a mess, the dogs were running wild, and Jenna looked exhausted, overwhelmed. I told her she needed help, that she couldn't do this all alone. I even offered to take a couple of the dogs off her hands, the ones that seemed the most aggressive. This friend, haunted by the memory of that last visit, would later tell investigators, "I knew something bad was going to happen. I just didn't know it would be this bad." The signs were everywhere. The escalating complaints, the visible injuries, the deteriorating property, the growing isolation. Yet, despite the mounting evidence, no one stepped in to intervene. Perhaps it was a fear of confronting Jenna, a reluctance to interfere in her personal affairs, or a misguided belief that she knew what she was doing. Whatever the reason, the warnings were ignored, the red flags went unheeded, and the stage was set for the tragic events that were about to unfold. The clock ticked. Past 11 a.m. on that fateful Sunday. The desert sun beat down on Golden Valley, baking the dust and intensifying the silence that had fallen over Jenna Sidle's property. For hours, the usual cacophony of barking and jostling had been absent, replaced by an unnerving stillness that even the desert coyotes seemed to notice. A neighbor, uneasy with the unusual quiet and the sight of Jenna's truck still parked out front, its door slightly ajar, dialed 911. Her voice, laced with a premonition of dread, reported loose dogs and a missing woman. A woman they hadn't seen since the day before. Deputies from the Mojave County Sheriff's Office arrived swiftly. The crunch of their tires on the gravel driveway, the only sound breaking the oppressive quiet. As they approached the property, they were met not with barking, but with a chilling tableau. A cluster of large dogs, their eyes fixed on the officers, their bodies tense and still. The dogs, a mix of German shepherds and other large breeds, were strangely subdued, their usual boisterous energy replaced by an unnerving watchfulness. The deputies cautiously advanced, guns drawn. The front gate hung open, its latch broken, a testament to the chaotic energy that usually resided within. A trail of paw prints, some smeared with a dark, ominous stain, led around the side of the house. The air was thick with the scent of dust, sagebrush, and something else. Something metallic and unsettling. And then they saw her. Jenna Sidle lay motionless in the dirt, her body contorted at an unnatural angle. Her clothing was torn, her skin marked with a horrifying mosaic of lacerations. The dogs, some still circling her, others standing guard, were covered in blood. Not all of it theirs. The scene that unfolded was one that would haunt the deputies for years to come. A gentlewoman, known for her kindness and compassion, had been brutally attacked and killed by the very animals she had dedicated her life to saving. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of sirens, flashing lights, and controlled chaos. Animal control officers arrived, armed with tranquilizer guns and catchpoles. The scene quickly became a battleground as the dogs, agitated and unpredictable, fought back against attempts to contain them. Several of the animals, deemed too dangerous to be safely handled, were euthanized on the spot, their lives ending abruptly in the same dusty yard where Jenna's had. The remaining dogs were sedated, crated, and hauled away, their fate hanging in the balance. The property, once a haven for unwanted animals, was now a crime scene, its tranquility shattered by the echoes of violence and despair. But the horror didn't end there. As investigators meticulously examined the scene, they uncovered details that painted a grim picture of Jenna's final moments. The pattern of the injuries, the drag marks in the dirt, the broken fingernails, all told a story of a desperate struggle for survival. Jenna had been alive during the attack. She had fought back, clawing at the earth, trying to escape the relentless onslaught of teeth and claws. But she was no match for the pack, their instincts sharpened by hunger, desperation, and the absence of clear leadership. The autopsy report confirmed the investigators' worst fears. Jenna had suffered multiple bite wounds, extensive tissue damage, and significant blood loss. Her injuries were consistent with an attack by multiple dogs, and there was no evidence of any other cause of death. The news of Jenna's death sent shockwaves through Golden Valley and beyond. How could a woman so dedicated to animals meet such a violent end? What went wrong, and who was to blame? The official investigation focused on the immediate cause of Jenna's death, the dog attack. But the lingering questions delved deeper, into the complex web of factors that had contributed to the tragedy. Was Jenna overwhelmed? Had she become blind to the dangers of her situation, blinded by her own compassion? Were the dogs inherently vicious, or were they simply products of their environment, driven by instinct and a lack of proper training and socialization? And what about the authorities? Had they done enough to address the concerns raised by neighbors? Should they have intervened earlier, before the situation spiraled out of control? These questions, unanswered and perhaps unanswerable, hung heavy in the air, casting a shadow over Jenna's memory and the community she had called home. The incident forced a reckoning with the realities of animal rescue, the limitations of compassion, and the often blurred lines between savior and victim. In the wake of the tragedy, the focus shifted to the surviving dogs. Animal behavior assessed their temperaments, trying to determine which could be safely rehomed and which posed a continued threat. The process was fraught with ethical dilemmas and emotional challenges. The dogs, traumatized and confused, were thrust into an unfamiliar world, their future uncertain. Some were deemed adoptable, their spirits unbroken despite the horrors they had witnessed. Others, scarred by their past and deemed too dangerous to be released into the community, faced a far bleaker fate. The legal ramifications of Jenna's death were equally complex. Could Jenna be held responsible for her own demise, having knowingly taken on the risk of caring for aggressive animals? Could the county be held liable for failing to adequately address the complaints about the dogs? These questions, debated in courtrooms and community forums, served as a stark reminder of the high stakes involved in animal rescue and the importance of responsible pet ownership. But beyond the legal and ethical debates, the tragedy of Jenna Sidle's death served as a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most noble intentions can have unintended consequences. Her story, a blend of compassion, devotion, and ultimately tragedy, continues to resonate, prompting reflection on the complexities of human-animal relationships and the delicate balance between love and control, and, of course, the limits of compassion when paired with good intentions, but no boundaries, safety, or structure.